I am male 35, very unattractive, and have made peace with being alone. My friends won't give up on trying to set me up with someone. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm here seeking advice because I've hit a bit of a roadblock with two of my closest friends, Steve and Melanie. To give you the full picture, I need to share some personal details that are central to the issue. To put it bluntly, I am very unattractive. I'm not saying this as a form of self-pity or to fish for compliments. It's just a fact. I was born with a face that most people would find unpleasant, and over the years, I've acquired scars on my body that only make things worse. These scars have been with me for the majority of my life, and I've come to terms with them. They're a part of who I am. Knowing this about myself, I've worked hard to make up for it in other areas of my life. I have a stable job that I enjoy. I'm tall, and I take great care of my body. I exercise regularly, eat healthy, and maintain a strong physique. However, no matter how much effort I put in, none of it seems to outweigh the fact that I am simply not easy on the eyes. Over the years, I've tried to find love and companionship. I put myself out there for a long time, enduring rejection after rejection. I can't even count how many women turned me down, but one day, I met someone who I thought might see past my appearance. We started dating, and I even lost my virginity to her. At first, I was over the moon. I thought I'd finally found someone who accepted me for who I was. But after about a month, she came to my place in tears. She told me that while she thought I was a wonderful person and enjoyed being around me, she couldn't get past how I looked. She admitted that even being physically intimate with me was difficult for her. Hearing that crushed me, but I understood. We broke things off, and in hindsight, I wish we'd never crossed the line into dating. We might have been better off as just friends. That was several years ago. After that experience, I decided to swear off romantic relationships altogether. It wasn't worth the pain. Since then, I've managed to build a pretty good life for myself. I've accepted that romantic love isn't in the cards for me, and I've found other ways to be happy. One of the biggest sources of joy in my life has been my friendships with Steve and Melanie. We've been close for years, and they're like family to me. However, there's one thing they do that has become a huge problem. They won't stop trying to set me up with someone. Steve and Melanie are both in happy relationships, and I think they have this fantasy about us all going on triple dates together. They've tried to play matchmaker for me more times than I can count. Sometimes, they blindside me by inviting someone to dinner and framing it as a date without telling me. Other times, they bring women to parties and spend the entire evening trying to push us together. I hate it. I hate it not just for myself, but for these poor women who have no idea what they're walking into. They didn't sign up to be the date of the weird, scarred guy. I can see it in their eyes, the sadness, the discomfort, and yes, sometimes even fear. When they realize I'm the one they're supposed to hit it off with, I don't blame them. If I were in their shoes, I'd probably feel the same way. I've told Steve and Melanie repeatedly to stop setting me up, but they don't seem to listen. They get so excited about the idea of me finding the one that they ignore my boundaries. The last straw happened last week. Steve and Melanie came over to hang out, and Melanie started talking about a friend from work she thought I'd like. She even showed me pictures of her. It was obvious where this was heading. When I found out they'd already invited this woman to an upcoming party, I tried to shut it down immediately. I told them, "Look, I'm happy to meet her, but this is not a date. Please don't try to push us together." Melanie got upset and asked why I wouldn't give the woman a chance. So, I asked her point blank, "Does she even know about me? Has she seen a picture of me?" Melanie admitted that she hadn't shown her my picture or told her anything about me. She planned to spring it on her at the party. At that moment, I snapped. I told them to stop playing matchmaker and showed them texts from two of the women they'd set me up with in the past. These women were kind enough to tell me they liked me as a person but weren't physically attracted to me. Steve and Melanie were visibly uncomfortable. They made an excuse to leave, and I haven't heard from them since. Now I'm stuck. I've made peace with the fact that I'll never experience romantic love, but I can't lose my friends. They mean so much to me, and I don't know how to fix this situation. How do I make them understand that I don't want to date? How do I set boundaries without pushing them away? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Hey everyone, I'm back with a happy update, and I wanted to share it with you all. Posting here the other day, turned out to be a surprisingly cathartic experience for me. I received so much thoughtful advice and support from this community, and it really helped me navigate the situation with my friends Steve and Melanie. After spending hours reading through comments and responding to messages, both in the thread and in my inbox, I decided it was time to reach out to Steve and Melanie. I wanted to set things right. It had been a week of silence, and I knew we couldn't leave things unresolved. We arranged to meet up and have a proper conversation. To keep it concise, Steve and Melanie admitted that the reason they hadn't reached out sooner was because they felt genuinely awful. They realized how overbearing their actions had been, and they were deeply apologetic. It was clear that they never intended to hurt me. They just hadn't considered how much their matchmaking efforts were affecting me. I appreciated their sincerity and told them that as long as they promised to stop trying to set me up with people, we could move past this. I also apologized for snapping at them during our last encounter. It was a moment of frustration on my part, but I made it clear that I valued their friendship and didn't want this to drive a wedge between us. Thankfully, they were completely on board, and we agreed to move forward. Communication really does work wonders, doesn't it? After our talk, they invited me to come over for a casual evening of games, drinks, and hanging out with some of their work friends. Melanie mentioned that the woman they had wanted to set me up with, Marie, would be there. She reassured me, though, that they hadn't said anything to her about me and that there would be absolutely no matchmaking attempts this time. It would just be a normal get-together, no pressure. I decided to take them up on the offer. Last night, I went over to their place, and I'm happy to report that everything went smoothly. I met Marie in a natural, relaxed setting, without the awkwardness of a blind date looming over us. She's an incredible person. We hit it off right away, and it turns out we have quite a bit in common. For one, we share a lot of similar interests, which made the conversation flow easily. Even more surprising, we discovered that we have almost identical jobs, both in IT, just at different companies. This gave us plenty to talk about, from work-related gripes to funny stories about office life. Steve and Melanie kept their word and didn't interfere. They let things unfold naturally, which made the entire evening feel effortless. By the end of the night, I felt like I had made a new friend. Marie and I got along so well that she actually invited me over to her place tonight. The plan is simple. We're going to watch some of our favorite movies, eat pizza, and probably complain about the joys and frustrations of working in IT. Honestly, I'm excited. It's been a while since I've connected with someone like this. So, in summary, my social life is alive and well. Steve, Melanie, and I are back on good terms, and I've even gained a new friend in the process. Before I wrap this up, I want to thank everyone who took the time to read my original post and share their thoughts with me. The advice, kindness, and support I received were truly heartwarming. This community is full of amazing people, and I feel lucky to have been on the receiving end of so much positivity. Even now, I'm still getting messages from folks offering words of encouragement or sharing their own stories. It's a reminder of how kind and thoughtful people can be. Thank you all again. Here's to hoping things continue to look up from here. It seems like all of my previous posts are being removed, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm not sure how to fix it, but I hope this update finds its way to those who supported me before. About 2.5 years ago, I came to Reddit for advice on a tricky situation I was dealing with involving my friends Steve and Melanie. They had this habit of trying to set me up on blind dates despite my repeated objections. For context, I've faced significant challenges when it comes to dating due to physical scars and other features that make me very unattractive by conventional standards. These scars, a result of life circumstances beyond my control, have made blind dates particularly painful experiences for me. At the time, my frustration had reached a boiling point. But after posting here, I received an overwhelming amount of advice and support from kind strangers, which encouraged me to communicate more openly with my friends. Steve and Melanie and I eventually resolved the issue, and I even shared an update about how things improved. Interestingly, the woman they had wanted to set me up with back then, Marie, turned out to be a fantastic person. Once the pressure of it being a date was removed, we were able to meet in a relaxed group setting, and we instantly clicked as friends. That same week, Marie invited me over to her place for a simple evening of pizza, movies, and conversation. We bonded over our shared interests and spent hours talking and laughing. As time passed, We started hanging out more frequently, and our friendship deepened. Then, something happened that completely surprised me. Marie asked me out. I'll be honest, I was terrified at first. I had spent so many years convinced that no one could see past my appearance, and the thought of dating again felt daunting. But something about the way she looked at me, so full of kindness and warmth, made me want to take a chance. I decided to go for it. Marie, as it turns out, isn't bothered by my scars. She sees me for who I am, not just how I look. Her love and acceptance have been nothing short of life-changing for me. Over the years, we've built something truly special. In fact, we recently moved in together, and I'm planning to propose to her early next year. Just thinking about it fills me with a mix of excitement and gratitude. As for Steve and Melanie, we're still as close as ever. In a funny twist of fate, we now go on those triple dates they always dreamed about, and I'm glad I can finally enjoy them without any awkwardness or pressure. This past Thanksgiving, we hosted our first Friendsgiving with them, their partners, and their kids. Marie, who loves cooking, was in her element preparing a feast for everyone. It was such a joyful experience, and we're already planning to host more group gatherings in the future now that we have a home with enough space to accommodate everyone. On a more personal note, having a strong support network has given me the courage to seek professional help for my mental health. For a long time, I carried a lot of pain and insecurity related to my appearance and past experiences, but I've been working on those issues in therapy for over a year now. Progress has been slow, but it's steady, and I owe so much of that to Marie. She's been my rock through it all, offering me love and encouragement every step of the way. If I'm being honest, I never thought I'd find myself in this place. A place where I can look forward to the future with hope and happiness. Marie has shown me a love that's stronger than the self-doubt and negativity I once carried, and that's made all the difference. So that's where things stand now. When I first posted here, I was in a very dark place, and I never imagined how much support I'd receive from complete strangers. It was your kindness and advice that helped me take the first steps toward a better life, and for that, I'll always be grateful. Even if most of those people have moved on and may never see this, I wanted to share this update as a way of paying it forward. Thank you for being part of my journey. Now on to the next story, story 2. My wife is accusing me of trying to emotionally steal my son from her. My 36 male wife, 36 female, is accusing me of trying to emotionally steal my son, 12 male, from her. I'm at a complete loss and could really use some advice. My wife and I have been married for 15 years. We tied the knot during our senior year of college, which was an exciting yet challenging time. After graduation, she worked full-time for 3 years to support us financially while I went through law school. She was incredibly supportive and dedicated, and I've always been grateful for the sacrifices she made during that period. In my final year of law school, my wife became pregnant with our son, Josh. Shortly after he was born and I graduated, I landed a solid position at a law firm in NYC. It was a big move, but the job offered me a 6-figure salary, which gave us financial stability. Around this time, my wife expressed her desire to become a stay-at-home mom to raise Josh. I agreed wholeheartedly and took on the financial responsibility for our household. For the most part, things were smooth. While I worked long hours at the firm, my wife took care of everything at home. The house was always clean, dinner was always ready when I returned, and we both settled into this dynamic without any major issues. The only downside was that I didn't get to see much of Josh. By the time I got home most nights, he was already asleep. Because of this, my wife and Josh formed a very close bond since they spent so much time together. Then, 2020 happened. When the pandemic hit, my firm transitioned to remote work, and I began working from home full-time. At first, this felt like a blessing. I could finally spend more time with my family. Josh, who was 9 at the time, was thrilled. He would bring his Legos, toys, or his tablet into my office while I worked. He'd sit on the floor near me, playing or doing his schoolwork, and we'd chat throughout the day. In the beginning, my wife seemed happy about this too. She'd often join us in my office, and it became a nice way for us to spend time as a family. However, over the past 3 years, things have changed, and not for the better. My wife stopped coming into the office to spend time with us. She started spending more and more time in the living room, watching TV alone. Meanwhile, Josh continued to hang out in my office or nearby. He seemed to enjoy being around me while I worked, which was a new dynamic for us since I used to work such long hours away from home. A few nights ago, everything came to a head. I noticed my wife seemed distant and unhappy, so I decided to ask if she was okay. To my surprise, she got upset, angrier than I've ever seen her before. She accused me of trying to emotionally steal Josh from her. She said that before I started working from home, it was always just the two of them, laughing, bonding, and having fun together. Now, according to her, all Josh wants to do is spend time in or near my office. I was shocked. I tried to explain that Josh is our son, not just hers, and that being able to work from home has allowed me to build the connection with him that I missed out on for years due to my demanding job. I thought she'd understand, but she only grew more upset. She accused me of taking away the bond they had and trying to replace her in Josh's life. I tried to stay calm, but I reminded her that I'm his father, and I have every right to be involved in his life just as much as she does. That's when she broke down, started crying, packed an overnight bag, and left to stay at her sister's house. She said she needed space and didn't want to talk. It's been 3 days since that argument, and I'm still stunned by how everything spiraled. She's been texting me, but her messages are short and mostly about logistics, like asking me to consider going back to working on-site at the firm. I don't want to do that. Working from home has been such a blessing for my relationship with Josh, and I don't see why I should have to give that up. I've spoken to her sister, who told me she doesn't see a problem with how I'm handling things. She said she'd try to talk to my wife, but I'm not sure if it will help. One of my friends even asked if there could be more to the situation, like guilt on my wife's part, or something deeper. He wondered if maybe Josh wasn't actually my biological son, and that's why she's reacting this way. I told him that's not possible. Early on, we did a paternity test, lawyer instincts kicking in, and the results confirmed Josh is definitely mine. There's also no indication of infidelity or anything like that. My wife has never given me any reason to doubt her. We share our locations on our phones, have security cameras around the house, and she's always been transparent about her whereabouts. I don't think this is about an affair. Josh has started asking where his mom is, and I don't know what to tell him. He's used to spending so much time with her, and now she's gone without much explanation. I'm doing my best to keep things normal for him, but I'm deeply confused and worried. Has anyone else been in a similar situation? How do I handle this without making things worse? I love my wife and want us to be a happy family again, but I also don't want to lose the connection I've built with my son. What should I do? Good update. After posting here, I decided to address the situation head-on and speak with my wife that very night. I went over to her sister's house, hoping to understand what had triggered her outburst and why she said what she did. The moment she saw me, she broke down in tears, apologizing profusely. She asked me to forgive her and said she regretted the things she had said. Apparently, she'd spent a lot of time talking with her sister over the past few days, and her sister had helped her see things more clearly. She explained that the heart of the issue was that Josh was growing up and starting to explore his independence. For the last 12 years, her identity had been tied to being a stay-at-home mom. And now that Josh was maturing and becoming more independent, she felt lost. I gently asked her what had caused the blow-up, and she admitted it was a series of little things building up. The tipping point was when Josh told her he wanted to stop their weekly baking Saturdays, a tradition they had enjoyed together for years. Instead, he said he wanted to start watching college football with me. On top of that, his school had been encouraging students to explore extracurricular activities for the next academic year. My wife wanted him to join a cooking class that the school offers, but he said he wasn't interested. Instead, he told her he wanted to start playing football. Now, a bit of context. My home office, where Josh spends a lot of time, is filled with football memorabilia. I played in high school, as did my father and brother. I wasn't a star or anything, just a backup on the team, but I did win a state championship ring. Josh loves to look at that ring and the trophies I've kept over the years. I think being surrounded by these items influenced his growing interest in football, which has now become a shared passion between us. Hearing all this from my wife made it clear why she was feeling hurt. She felt like Josh was abandoning the hobbies and traditions they had shared for so long and was gravitating toward my interests instead. She admitted that it made her feel like the bond they once had was slipping away. Throughout the conversation, she was in tears, and it was clear how deeply this had been affecting her. I listened carefully and reassured her that I understood where she was coming from. It can't be easy to see your role and identity shift as your child grows. Being a stay-at-home mom had been such a big part of her life, and now that Josh was becoming more independent, she felt unsure of her place. When I asked why she had been gone for 3 days, she explained that it wasn't intentional. She initially left to cool off, but during her conversations with her sister, it was pointed out that she had poured so much of her identity into being a mom that she hadn't allowed space for herself. Her sister suggested that a short break might help her reset and reflect. I told her that Josh would always need her, no matter how old he gets or how his interests evolve. She would always hold a unique and irreplaceable place in his heart as his mom. Part of parenting, I explained, is adapting to the changes that come with watching your child grow and supporting them as they explore new paths. That night, she came home with me. The first thing she did was hug Josh and apologize for leaving so abruptly. She cried as she told him how much she loved him and how sorry she was for not handling her emotions better. Since then, we've taken steps to ensure we're all on the same page as a family. I suggested therapy, whether individual, family, or couples counseling, and my wife agreed to start with individual therapy. I've been helping her find a good therapist, and I think this will be a positive step forward. We also discussed ways to help her rediscover her own identity outside of being a mom. She admitted she wasn't passionate about her college degree, so I encouraged her to go back to school or pursue something she truly loves. She's now planning to enroll in culinary school, with dreams of starting a YouTube cooking channel. In the meantime, she's going to start working part-time at her friend's bakery next month, which I think will be great for her. We've also made some changes to our family dynamic. We've introduced designated mom time and dad time, so Josh can enjoy activities with each of us individually. For instance, he's asked me to help him practice football, which I'm excited to do. At the same time, I encourage Josh to keep up some traditions with his mom, like cooking together occasionally. On top of that, we've scheduled more group family activities so the 3 of us can spend quality time together. We've also realized the importance of alone time as a couple, so we're planning to carve out time just for us while giving Josh more independence to explore his own interests. The past 2 nights have been wonderful. My wife is smiling again, and it feels like we're back on track. Thank you to everyone who commented and offered support. It truly helped guide me through this situation. Answering a few questions from the previous post. Why does your wife text you when she goes somewhere? She doesn't have to. It's just something we both do voluntarily. Living in NYC, we've both been mugged before, so we let each other know where we are as a safety measure. Why did you ask for a paternity test? During my last year of law school, I worked at a family law clinic and saw too many cases where people found out years later that their kids weren't biologically theirs. It made me paranoid, even though I never doubted my wife's faithfulness. I brought it up to her, and she was understanding, so we did the test. Looking back, I realized it wasn't necessary, and if I could go back, I wouldn't have asked for it.